There's a reason why even smart people fall for obvious scams. And psychology has known about it for decades, they just haven't told you. We tend to believe we are rational beings, in control of our decisions. But what if unseen forces are subtly shaping your thoughts, your desires, and your actions, often without you ever realizing it? Imagine a hidden blueprint guiding your choices, a silent conductor orchestrating your responses. This isn't science fiction, it's the reality of human influence, a realm where the sophisticated tactics of persuasion can be deployed with chilling effectiveness. Understanding these mechanisms isn't about becoming a manipulator, but about becoming unmanipulatable. It's about recognizing the strings and, if you choose, cutting them. The real question is, how much of your life is truly your own, and how much is a product of carefully crafted external suggestion? Today, we pull back the curtain. The journey into the hidden mechanisms of influence often begins with a deceptively simple phenomenon, the echo chamber. Think about your social media feed, or the news channels you habitually watch. They often reflect and amplify your existing beliefs. This isn't accidental. Algorithms are designed to keep you engaged, and the easiest way to do that is to show you more of what you already agree with. This creates a feedback loop, reinforcing your worldview and making it harder to consider alternative perspectives. But this algorithmic echo chamber has a real-world, psychological counterpart. It's called the consonance effect, and it's far more pervasive than you might imagine. It suggests that we are more likely to accept information that aligns with our existing beliefs, even if that information is flawed. Consider the Asch conformity experiments from the 1950s. Solomon Asch asked participants to judge the length of lines. Simple enough, right? But he introduced a twist. Confederates, people in on the experiment, would deliberately give the wrong answer. Astonishingly, about 75% of participants conformed to the group's incorrect answer at least once. They knew the right answer, but the pressure to conform, to be part of the group, was overwhelming. This highlights a fundamental human need, belonging. We are social creatures, and the fear of ostracization, of being the odd one out, can override our own judgment. This is the first layer of influence, the desire to fit in. But it goes deeper. What happens when this need for consonance is exploited? Imagine a situation where someone intentionally feeds you information that confirms your biases, making you trust them, making you believe you're seeing the world more clearly than others. This is where manipulation begins to take root. It starts not with malice, but with a deep-seated human tendency, amplified by modern technology and social dynamics. This tendency makes us vulnerable. How does this create an actionable path for influence? We live in an age of unprecedented choice. From streaming services to breakfast cereals, we are bombarded with options. But this abundance, paradoxically, can lead to paralysis. Barry Schwartz famously described this as the paradox of choice. Too many options can lead to anxiety, indecision, and ultimately, less satisfaction with our choices. This psychological phenomenon is a powerful lever for influence. When faced with overwhelming options, people often seek shortcuts. They look for cues to simplify the decision-making process. This is where manipulative tactics can become incredibly effective. Someone can present a curated set of options, subtly guiding you towards their preferred choice by framing it as the obvious or simplest path. They capitalize on your cognitive load, the mental effort required to process information and make decisions. A fascinating, though lesser-known, experiment that touches on this is the attraction effect, also known as the compromise effect. Imagine you're choosing between two products, a premium option and a budget option. You might struggle to decide. Now, introduce a third option, deliberately designed to be inferior to one of the others, but making the other one seem more attractive. For example, a super premium but ridiculously expensive option might be added. Suddenly, the original premium option, which was previously a difficult choice, now looks like a reasonable compromise. This isn't about genuine preference, it's about manipulating the perception of value by altering the choice architecture. The influencer doesn't need to convince you their product is best, they just need to make you feel like it's the best compared to the other options they presented. This is a subtle form of control, leveraging our innate desire to make good decisions in a complex world. It's a way to bypass critical thinking by overwhelming it. Does this mean we are simply susceptible to any presentation of choices? Two of the most potent psychological triggers influencing our behavior are social proof and scarcity. We are deeply influenced by what others are doing and by the perceived rarity of something. Robert Cialdini, in his seminal work Influence, details these principles. Social proof suggests that we look to the actions and behaviors of others to determine our own, especially in uncertain situations. If a restaurant is packed, we assume it's good. If a product has thousands of positive reviews, we're more likely to buy it. This reliance on the crowd is a powerful shortcut, but it can be easily manipulated. Fake reviews, manufactured trends, or even staged popularity can create a false sense of demand, pushing individuals to conform without critical evaluation. Scarcity, on the other hand, plays on our fear of missing out, FOMO. When something is perceived as limited in availability, its value increases in our eyes. Limited time offers, only a few left in stock, or exclusive access are all tactics designed to trigger this response. The reasoning is that if something is scarce, it must be desirable. This psychological bias can override rational assessment. Consider the notorious Pied Piper study, which, while often debated for its ethical implications, highlights how readily individuals can be led. While not directly about social proof or scarcity, it demonstrated the power of a compelling narrative and perceived authority to guide behavior, even in potentially detrimental ways. The key takeaway is that our desire to follow the herd and our fear of missing out are powerful, exploitable motivators. They are not necessarily rational drivers, but deeply ingrained psychological responses. This makes us susceptible to manufactured urgency and popularity. What if these aren't just passive influences, but actively weaponized tactics? Beyond external pressures, internal cognitive biases offer fertile ground for manipulation. Two of the most significant are framing and anchoring. Framing refers to how information is presented. The same objective fact can elicit vastly different responses depending on how it's framed. For instance, a medical procedure with a 90% survival rate sounds far more appealing than one with a 10% mortality rate, even though they convey the exact same statistical outcome. This is because our brains react more strongly to potential losses than to potential gains. Anchoring is the tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information offered, that anchor, when making decisions. In negotiations, the first price mentioned often sets the benchmark for the rest of the discussion. If a car salesman starts with a high price, even if they offer a discount, you might still end up paying more than the car is truly worth, because your perception of its value has been anchored high. This bias is incredibly powerful in everyday life, from setting salary expectations to evaluating deals. A lesser-known but related phenomenon is priming. Exposing someone to a specific stimulus can influence their response to a later stimulus. For example, if you're shown a series of words related to old age, you might unconsciously start walking more slowly afterwards. These framing, anchoring, and priming effects reveal that our perceptions are not objective realities, but rather constructed interpretations heavily influenced by the context in which information is delivered. They are the invisible architecture of our decision-making. How can understanding this protect us? The mechanisms of influence, the echo chamber, the paradox of choice, social proof, scarcity, framing, and anchoring, are not inherently evil. They are often byproducts of our evolved psychology, amplified by modern society. However, recognizing them is the first step towards reclaiming your agency. When you understand that your desire to conform, your fear of missing out, or your reliance on mental shortcuts can be exploited, you gain a critical defense. The key is to cultivate metacognition, thinking about your own thinking. Ask yourself, why do I believe this? Am I making this decision based on genuine preference or external pressure? Is this information presented objectively, or framed to elicit a specific response? Consider the illusion of explanatory depth. We often overestimate our understanding of how things work. When confronted with this, it can lead to intellectual humility and a greater willingness to seek out diverse information. This is your shield. Actively seek out perspectives that challenge your own. Be aware of algorithmic curation and its tendency to create echo chambers. When faced with choices, consciously pause and question the presentation. Is this a genuine array of options, or a carefully constructed decision tree? Practice mindfulness, paying attention to your present thoughts and feelings without judgment, can help you catch manipulative suggestions before they take hold. It's about developing a healthy skepticism, not cynicism. It's about understanding the hidden currents that shape your decisions so you can navigate them consciously, rather than being swept along. The ultimate power lies not in avoiding influence, but in understanding it and choosing your own path. What is the most insidious form of manipulation you've encountered, and how did you recognize it?